Now, I don't know about you guys, but I like it when I have a console that actually runs the game that I am trying to play. Usually, like, if the game works to its proper standards, I'm pretty happy, especially if the game is 60 bucks. The only thing that becomes a problem is if the game is like buggy or has a few issues here and there. But, even then I can overlook the fact that there's a bug, again, here or there, and, begin to play the game again normally. Just kind of go through it exactly how I would normally want to play the game. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen bugs like all over the place in your favorite video games, and even like with those bugs, you've still said, I love this game to fucking death. It's absolutely amazing. I could say that for like a trillion different games that I've played. But the thing is, this situation is very, very different from just a few bugs. And the situation that I'm specifically targeting here is how Cyberpunk 2077 plays on the original Xbox and PlayStation consoles. By the way, if I look extremely tired, it's because I very much am. That's why I have this massive, massive mason jar of coffee to try and wake me up for this video. Now, what I mean by original Xbox and PlayStation consoles is I'm talking about the original, like, black with the touch fucking sensor Xbox button. I'm talking about like that Xbox One, along with the original PlayStation 4, like before the Slim, before the Pro, like the first base consoles that came out. Actually, it's been almost a decade, maybe? It's been a very long time. Well, it's been roughly 8 years, I should say. I shouldn't say a decade. It's a little bit too much of a rounding. But Cyberpunk is having a problem with textures loading and frame drops and all these bugs going on in the game. And it's really fucking shitty for a game that's been in development for so many years and that so many people have been so eager to play. And realistically, like, if you don't have the kind of money for a new console or a newer version of the Xbox One or PlayStation 4, then it's gonna be really, really hard for you to try to enjoy a game that you've been looking forward to for so long. The problems that come with this game are actually horrendous. Apparently, and according to this IGN video, apparently there's conversations that happen in the game where the CPUs will not actually open their mouth to speak, which is absolutely horrendous. Or on top of the fact that like people will just phase through doors, or again the FPS drops. I think the biggest problem that it's had so far is the fact that people will be like driving into a new area or running into a new area of the game, and they'll end up having to wait for the textures to load, which is, oh my god, the screenshots, and I'll put them on the screen. They are so bad. Like, they are the worst I've ever seen. And on top of that, even streamers who I would assume most of them would be playing on their computers are experiencing bugs as well on that. That one seems to be specifically targeting stuff around the CPUs, like walk animations and whatnot. Again, with the phasing through doors, that's where that problem seems to be lying the most. But the original consoles are dealing with so many problems, it's actually insane. Apparently, and according to a comment on this video, this guy's trying to play it on the PS4 Slim, and it's literally unplayable. Which honestly throws me for a loop, because it's like, why is this game performing so awfully? Like, okay, let's say the graphics are like the best we've ever seen, and they are really fucking good, right? Obviously, the consoles aren't going to be able to handle the kind of graphical fidelity that majority of, the PS5 and the higher end Xbox One and PlayStation 4 consoles are going to be able to handle, along with a computer, obviously, if you have a pretty bomb computer. But the thing that confuses me is, why did it even release on these consoles? They said they had to beta test it for insane amounts of consoles back when I made the problem with Cyberpunk 2077 video, right? So they obviously went through the efforts to go and try the game out on these older versions of the last gen consoles, right? But why the fuck did they encounter all these issues? Because they had to have. They had to have seen these issues. Why did they come across all of these issues and then decide to release the game in that state anyway? It confuses the shit out of me. And what makes it even more interesting is this game, yes, obviously has a lot of graphical, I guess, importance. It looks really, really good. It's not a bad looking game at all by any means, right? But the thing is, if you play Red Dead Redemption 2 or any of those kinds of games that released, more towards 2020 or 2019 area, I guess you should say, rather than the beginning life of the Xbox One or PlayStation 4 consoles, it confuses me why games like Red Dead Redemption 2 on these older consoles still look fantastic. And I mean, actually fantastic. They don't look bad by any means, especially Red Dead Redemption 2, but Cyberpunk 2077 looks completely terrible. It looks fucking awful. Imagine you're just trying to play your game, right? You're trying to do some mission, you're chasing some guy down, you're trying to kick some serious butt, right? You're speeding through Night City, you got this freaking nice car, beautiful looking car, you're going through, you're chasing after some guy, you gotta kill him, right? Imagine how awful it would be if the game just didn't load its textures, and everything just looked like you were out of bounds in the map of like zombies or something like that. Imagine how much it would take your experience out of the game because you're sitting there waiting for textures to load. And if you're like flying through, I'm wondering if the consoles are going to be able to handle you going super fast. Let's say you have like the best car in the game and you're flying through the city. I'm wondering if the consoles are going to be able to handle the loading times that are going to be required for going at that speed. Typically when a game has to load, it'll kick you back, right? Like, so let's say you're playing like an old game. Let's say you're playing like Saints Row 2 or something like that. If you're going too fast and the game can't load the next area that you're going to be entering, then typically what happens with these kinds of games, and it happens in Skate 3 too, typically what happens with these kinds of games is you will be kicked back essentially. So like if the game can't load, it'll respawn you back where like it is loaded, and then the next part of the map will be loaded for you to go through. That's typically what happens with these kinds of games. If you do any speed glitch in Skate 3, then you absolutely know what I'm talking about. So it makes me wonder, like, would that happen with Cyberpunk 2077 and have people like encounter this kind of problem? Because that would throw me for the worst experience ever, the worst loop. I would absolutely hate playing the game at that point. And considering there's people in the comments section of this video, which I'll link in the description, that are saying that the game is literally unplayable on old consoles, that's awful. That just sucks. Like, what if you don't have the money to afford these newer consoles? Like, what if you don't have the money to afford, let's say, just like an Xbox One S or something like that? That's terrible. I know that there's a bunch of people in the world, especially during this current pandemic, that don't have the kind of money to just drop on a console, you know, let alone a $60 video game, but still won't be able to play it because they have an older version of a console. I know people who still play on the original Xbox One, and I had that console. I actually got the Xbox One day one when it came out, you know, freaking back in 2013, but I ended up getting rid of it because I hated it so much. And now I have an Xbox One X. I'm grateful enough to be able to have a computer and a console that's able to run this kind of game to this graphical capability. But the thing is, like, everybody else who has these older consoles who just can't afford the new ones, that just blows. That's like completely blows for all of them. And I honestly don't understand why CD Projekt Red decided to release this game at this point in time, especially after beta testing, you know, 2 consoles. Maybe the PS4 Slim probably has the same problem too. The PS4 Slim, I'm hearing, has the same problem too. So they had to beta test these older consoles, and, you know, regardless of the fact that they came across all these issues, because they had to have at least come across at least a handful of them, and still decided to release the game, just blows my mind. Why would you do this? What is the point of this? That just makes everybody's hype for the game die down immediately. Not to mention the bugs that released with the game that just completely ruined a lot of people's experiences, or, you know, also made for some pretty funny moments on live streams or whatnot. But the game is obviously not 100% ready for complete play. Like, it has so many bugs at this point in time that there's going to release like insane patches. They already released a huge patch like the day after it came out because they realized how many bugs were happening in the game. And, you know, realistically, they should have, you know, maybe even delayed it a little bit more, because this kind of blows, like, especially for these people who are on the original consoles. These issues should have been checked. They had plenty of time to check these problems, and regardless of trying to fix any kind of graphical problems or bugs with the older versions of the consoles, they decided to release them and then do what they did with Witcher 3 and just patch everything later on through insane patches, like multiple gigabyte patches throughout the next year. And I can guarantee you that's what's going to happen. And realistically, that actually blows. That, like, sucks for everybody using an original console, and I honestly feel bad for those kinds of people. Let me know what you guys think of this entire video. By the way, if you liked it, give it a like. If you disliked it, then dislike it. If you did like it, then why not subscribe? It lets me know that what I'm doing is kind of stuff you guys want to see. Comment below whether or not you guys agree or disagree with what I'm saying below, or maybe you just want to share your opinion on the entire situation. That's literally just as fine. I would like to hear from all of you guys. And after all that, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. See you in the next one. I've been holding all I own. I've been clutching all whatever is left.